left Redstone Campground to go to Goblin Valley on the 28th.
Because they were loading that cat up.
Wow, look at all that water that must have come out of here. We found out that mudslide had actually occurred on Friday, but we had thought maybe it was happening earlier than that. We drove out on I-70 out through Grand Junction and on our way out to Goblin Valley, which is located about central Utah. Goblin Valley State Park is a Utah state park, and it's located between the Grand Reef and Canyonlands National Parks in a really remote area. We arrived about mid-afternoon and did some wandering around. Even inside the state park, which the next several photos will be, there is a tremendous amount to explore. We went into some slot canyons and just looked up and around, and it was really, really neat. Dave had to fix our refrigerator, which he was referring to our get-up as the rolling breakdown on this particular day. But he was successful, and we were able to sit out on the back patio and just enjoy some quiet time.
Bloob. Bloob. So we're going to load up the sauce with onions and mushrooms and...
We went for another walk out past the campground amphitheater, and this is what we saw out there. The sides of the walls were really interesting in this particular canyon because they were just drips. You could see where glops had slid and where individual rivulets had come down. There was a cave at the back, which is where Dave's at this particular photo, and it was probably 60 feet up to the top. Explorer pose. We went back to camp and made a spaghetti dinner and then headed over to Goblin Valley, which is what gives the campground its name. From the parking lot, this doesn't really look like much, but once you get down and into it, it's actually a blast to explore. There's all sorts of things that are just slightly larger than human scale that you can climb on and walk between, and just, you know, they look like all sorts of things. It's like cloud watching. You can come up with whatever it is you think they look like. I thought this looked like a dragon, a cartoon dragon even. So this was the Almost Kissing Rock, and you know, the kids had a great time. We had a great time. The next morning we loaded up everybody and went out to Horseshoe Canyon, which was only about 40 miles from our camp. It's a somewhat remote area, some beautiful scenery along the way, and it's actually part of Canyonlands National Park, so that was interesting and exciting for our family to hit another national park. The trail into the canyon is an old wagon trail, and it's a pretty easy walk in, about 800 feet down. The opposite wall also has a jeep trail that's not allowed to actually be vehicle driven. We dropped down into the canyon fairly quickly. It only took about a half hour. There were reminders that this is an archaeological site and don't touch. The rock layers are very similar to those at the upper end of the Grand Canyon, which was really exciting for me since those were some of my favorites when we were at the Grand Canyon. The valley floor has a lot of sand, but there's also some trees and shade. We walked about a quarter mile to get to the first gallery of rock art, which was my particular favorite, although it was not the largest rock art that we saw. The stylistic nature of this made it very interesting and beautiful to me. The second rock art looked like it was probably more recent and a lot less detailed than any of the other rock art that we saw. It was a lot more triangular shaped, it was closer to the ground, and it had what appeared to be a couple different styles of art carving. The overhanging rock ledges made it for a really interesting walk in different places. We came around the corner to see this natural amphitheater fallen out of the cliff, which I was sure was going to be our Grand Galley, although it's not. You can see Ella down at the bottom for scale. We were all disappointed to see that there had been some defacement of this particular rock wall.
I'll check her here.
We learned later that it was about 100 degrees on the day we were hiking, so it was pretty hot. The Grand Galley was about 2 miles up the canyon from where we hit the floor, and it was actually spectacular. I was really taken with the fellow on the right with the feather on his head. I took several photos of that particular image. The hike out was pretty brutal, so I didn't take any photos, but when we got back to camp, Dagny and I did some hanging out. Really high-key stuff. We got up early the next morning and headed out of camp with about an 8-hour, 9-hour drive ahead of us. Headed into Idaho. We had a really great stop at Goblin Valley.